Greetings, film fanatics. Filmholmes here, and welcome to another rendition of Too Many Movies. So, it's been about, I'd say a month, maybe 2 months, I can't remember, since the wonderful actor, one of my favorites, Gene Wilder, passed away, I believe at the age of 83. He lived a long, full life, had a wonderful film and television career, one of my all-time favorite actors. And I felt bad. I planned on reviewing some of his movies. I wanted to review Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I wanted to review a few Mel Brooks films like The Producers and Blazing Saddles, even Silver Streak, Stir Crazy, his movies with Richard Pryor. He's had such a long career. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get around to it. I already had a number of videos done, and it was getting kind of close to the end of the time, and I just ran out of time, unfortunately, so I didn't get a chance to. But while looking at Halloween movies, scary movies to go through, I stumbled across one that is one of my favorite comedies, and everyone's favorite comedy, it seems, nowadays, because Mel Brooks is one of my all-time favorite writer and directors, and it stars Gene Wilder, who also co-wrote the script. And I thought, okay, I'm going to finally pay a little bit of tribute to Gene Wilder while talking about a Halloween movie that everybody should see, even if they've already seen it. Of course, I am talking about the classic Young Frankenstein, or Frankenstein. But yeah, I'm going to talk about this. I know it's a comedy. It's not a scary movie, but still a Halloween movie that I watch every year around this time, and I watched it again. So let's get to it. So Young Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, which was directed by Mel Brooks, but also written by Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder came up with the original concept, the original story. It's about a young descendant of the Frankensteins, played by Gene Wilder, who is completely against his family's legacy, what his grandfather did when it came to the Frankenstein monster. He even goes by Frankenstein to differentiate himself from that family. But he goes to Transylvania wait, is it Transylvania? Did I say that right? Isn't that Dracula? Yeah, Transylvania. Woo! Got it right. Because they found his grandfather's will, and he goes to the castle. There's a weird woman that, takes care of the place, played by Cloris Leachman. Wonderful. There's also Igor, a descendant of Igor, who is just played wonderfully by Marty Feldman. One of the best parts of the movie, which is all great. But Gene Wilder has a fiancée he leaves behind, played by the brilliant Madeline Kahn, in a small part, but very memorable. He meets a woman who's going to be his lab assistant, played wonderfully by Terry Garr. So funny and beautiful. But while he's there, he discovers his grandfather's laboratory and decides to carry on his work and make the monster, played by Peter Boyle. And this movie is basically a love sonnet to the Frankenstein monsters, the original ones, a lot of the Hammer films, stuff like that. It was even shot in black and white. It looks beautiful in black and white and matches up with those kind of movies. You would think, the way it was done, that it was made like in the 1930s. It looks just like those movies, for the most part, a little cleaner. But I haven't really seen those kind of movies. But I know enough, seen documentaries, I've learned enough to where I know now where the homages are. There's a blind man that was in one of the Frankenstein movies, played great by Gene Hackman, of all. He just wanted to play a character in the movie, and they gave him that, and he's great at it. But there's just a lot of little touches. Now, Mel Brooks says this is probably still his finest film, and honestly, I think it is, because a lot of work went into recreating the history. The laboratory equipment was like the original stuff used from those films, as far as I know. That's pretty cool, so it matches up perfectly. The fact that it's in black and white is... Excuse me. Need a drink of water. Even film fanatics such as myself still get dry mouth, especially when you shoot like 6 of these in a row. But the script is just so I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But it just looks just like one of those movies, and the sets are superb, and everything matches up, and every actor is just on point. One of the best comedic casts I've ever seen in a film. I mean, Mel Brooks knew how to do it. And the script is beyond wonderful, and just even the dumbest of jokes will have you belly laugh because they're just so absurd and so funny, and sometimes some of the most clever comedy ever put on film. And like I said, Mel Brooks thinks this is his finest film. It probably is. It's not my favorite film of his. It doesn't have the impact on me it does on a lot of other people, but I see why it does. And I love the film. It's brilliant. It's one of the most brilliant comedies I've ever seen in my life. And it's a love, like I said, it's a love sonnet to these films while also making fun of them. And Mel Brooks did it better than anybody. And Gene Wilder, my favorite role of his isn't Willy Wonka. Isn't, from the producers or Blazing Saddles. It's, Frankenstein. He just puts his heart and soul into this, just like he did with the majority of his performances. But in this one, it was obvious this was a passion project of his. Like I said, he co-wrote the script. Without Gene Wilder, there would not be a Young Frankenstein. This was not a Mel Brooks creation. He did co-write it. He directed it. He deserves all that credit. But Gene Wilder is the one who brought the idea to him. This was Gene Wilder's movie, not Mel Brooks. I think people should remember that. And it's something that you have to watch around the Halloween season. You have to. Because it's not the funniest Mel Brooks movie, because it's got some of his best jokes, some of his best dialogue, some of his best characters, but it's not his funniest. It wasn't just joke, 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 joke. There's atmosphere, and it has to be built throughout the movie to make you really feel like this is that time period, that you're watching that kind of movie. It's just an absurd way to tell those kind of stories. But a beautiful adaptation of the Frankenstein story. Beautiful. So original, too. Such an original idea. And nobody will be able to do this again. Nobody. They even tried to do a musical like they did with the producers, and from what I know, it didn't really work. Sometimes that happens. You cannot recreate that magic from the movie again. Where I think the producers, more could be told through a musical. Young Frankenstein, you can't really add on that. The movie is about as perfect as it can get. Trying to think if there's anything I missed. I mean, Gene Wilder, I still think it's his best role. It's almost iconic now. Or it is iconic. Terry Garr, Madeline Kahn, Peter Boyle, Marty Feldman, Cloris Leachman. I can't remember the guy's name who played the inspector. So damn funny with the wooden arm. He's only in it a few times, but so funny. And I need to watch the Frankenstein movies because there's probably a million laughs I don't get because I don't get the joke of the old movies. But from what I do get, this is still one of the most brilliant comedies ever made. It has to at least be in your top 5. I know it's in mine because it does make me laugh, but besides it being a great, brilliant comedy, one of the greatest ever, it's just a phenomenal film. Phenomenal movie. And I agree with Mel, it probably is one of his best. And at the same time as we praise Mel, you gotta praise Gene Wilder, because without him, Young Frankenstein would not exist. So that's kind of my, me talking about Gene Wilder, because I wish he was still around. I wish he could still make movies like this, but he left a lasting legacy, and I think Young Frankenstein is right at the top. So no surprise here, probably. Young Frankenstein, one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies, one of my all-time favorite movies, my favorite Gene Wilder movie, definitely a 5 out of 5. And it's not going to scare you this Halloween season, but it's definitely going to make you laugh. If you're tired of being scared or being, feeling tense when you're watching these kind of movies, pop in Young Frankenstein if you've never seen it, because it holds up to this day, and it always will, because it's one of the best movies ever made. So there you go. Rest in peace, Gene Wilder. I hope you do. We definitely all miss you here, on Earth, wherever you are. If there is an afterlife or not, wherever you are, thank you very much. And thank you, Mel Brooks. And one day, I promise, I will get to all the other Mel Brooks films because, I love Mel Brooks. But for now, I've at least finally reviewed one of his, and it's definitely one of his best. So this was Too Many Movies. I'm Filmholmes. As you can see, I got more movies to watch, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.